This week, there's a sexy new tank that I absolutely have to talk about. We've got some brand new lore that I find very interesting, and especially when it comes to 10th edition, and D&D is returning to outer space, y'all. I'm super hyped. Let's go ahead and jump into this week's hobby news. I'm Angela. You're watching Hobby Night. Now let's get to it. Alright, we have to start by talking about the Spartan assault tank because holy heck, it's glorious and I want so many of them. Also, did you know that you can have 10 total Lascannons on it? It comes with 8 normally, but you can replace some of the heavy bolters on the front with 2 more Lascannons, giving you a whopping total of 10, just in case you didn't think you had enough las.
The math adds up.
It's true. And imagine if you had like multiple of these tanks. You know what the other benefit of this lovely assault tank is? The fact that it can carry your beautiful, beautiful chunky Terminators, which I can't wait to see the plastic versions of when they finally announce them for Horus Heresy, because if we don't get them, I'm gonna be very angry, especially now that we've got a tank specifically for them. But overall, I'm very pleased to see this vehicle come out. I can't wait to see what other vehicles they re-release and actually bring into plastic, because right now, everything that's coming out for Horus Heresy is looking delightful.
I also just have to be the old school gamer and make a point of it's the original Land Raider. It's the Land Raider from Rogue Trader Warhammer.
Which is actually really, really cool. Like, that makes me love it even more. It's just overall, the mini's amazing. Next, I want to go ahead and talk about the Leagues of Votaan, because we've actually learned what a Votaan is, and it's heresy! Because it's an AI-driven computer, which is keeping all of their information, storing everything for them, which is fantastic because it also means that they've stored some standard construct templates, or standard template constructs. I can't remember now which the order is. I think it's STC. Yeah, STC. Basically, they've got some STCs, which I'm sure the Mechanicus is probably going, hey, we want our hands on that. I also imagine that the Inquisition might want to have a word with them, considering it seems a lot of their ancestral cores, the Votaan, are failing and developing exciting personalities, which probably bodes very, very poorly for the future of the universe. However, I do want to talk a little bit about the future of the universe in regards to this new knowledge that they're dropping with this new lore tied to the squats, because it really makes me think that they're opening some things up when we get into 10th edition. The fact that the Votaan are AI and they're starting to develop personalities makes me believe that you could easily have any of these ancestral cores actually corrupted by chaos, influenced by Xeno. Anything like that could be done, and it could lead to some really exciting changes and updates. And frankly, I really just want them to mean that we end up getting Chaos Dwarves back, because I know we're getting them in Warhammer Fantasy because of everything that's going on with Total War Warhammer 3, but I would love to see Chaos Dwarves actually show up in Warhammer 40,000, and if the Votaan and them developing personalities is a way for them to do that, I'm all into it. Also, the Necrons should be very intrigued by this. If Trazyn doesn't have a core just like stored in his treasury, I would be shocked. And I want to know how bonkers that thing has gone, because it's just been absorbing a bunch of like Necron stuff, and who knows what the Void Dragon's been saying to it, right? It really is exciting to me. I would love to know your thoughts on what this new lore is potentially going to bring, especially in reference to 10th edition Warhammer 40k.
It's that time of the video where I interrupt to tell you about my Patreon and to let you know that we just added a Discord server which all tiers get access to. So if you're wanting a way to chat with me, share with me your projects, or just tell me what board games you're playing, definitely make sure to check the link below and check out my Patreon.
After 60 million years, a great purpose awakens. Cold and soulless, the Necrons crawl forth from their tombs to find worlds formerly theirs infested by the living. Before they can rebuild, they must reclaim what's theirs. The living shall be scored from all the worlds that rightfully belong to the glorious Necron dynasties, established long before any Imperium of Man. And so, it is this task that falls first to the Necron warriors. Their deadly Gorse-Flayer weapons are capable of reducing any target to its component atoms while stripping flesh from bone. Standing above them, the Immortals rain terror on their enemies with their Gorse blasters. Blessed with superior resilience and all but impervious to small arms, they regenerate all but the most serious of injuries. But this is not a trait unique to them, for all Necrons can regenerate, allowing an unrelenting but also unstoppable march against their enemies. But what is a great dynasty without its leadership? The Necron Overlord directs the flow of any battle to victory. Yet, such a powerful asset is placed at great risk on the front line. The Lich Guard assures that the will of any Overlord is carried out, even in the most extreme battles, and that any attempt to assassinate their rightful ruler ultimately fails. Some Necrons are not led, but simply directed to the insanity of battle. The Scorpeg Destroyers are such Necrons. Driven by the powerful and destructive Plasmacite, they slaughter in close combat whirlwinds of death, creating terror and chaos in equal measure. But some battles can only be won by vulgar abuse of brute force. The mighty Annihilation Barge would surely provide it also with its heavy weapons and obscene range. As time passes, the galaxy will once again be ruled by the Necrons. This is their great purpose. No living thing can stand in their way.
We're changing gears just slightly and we're jumping into video games because Battlesector has a brand new download that you can pick up that I actually am very interested in. It makes me kind of want to jump back into the game a little bit because I think I touched on it briefly and then sort of jumped out. But there's Necrons now. You can download the Necron DLC for $14.99, which gives you 14 brand new units to play in the game. But if you don't necessarily want to grab that DLC, maybe you aren't a huge fan of the Necrons and you don't want to play them, what's wrong with you? I don't understand. Scarabs and Destroyers are delightful. However, if you don't want to buy them, you can still download the free planetary expansion, which allows them to it actually introduces a whole new game mode. I think it's called Planetary Conquest. Let me double check my notes. Planetary Supremacy. I'm sorry, it's called Planetary Supremacy. It offers a brand new campaign mode, and you can play against the Necrons in this even if you don't buy the download to actually get them so you can play them. But I think it's really cool because if you own the base game and if you've really been wanting to play Tyranids, this is how you get to. Because you can play any of the factions as they get added to the Planetary Supremacy version of the game. And it sounds like they have a lot of plans to add additional factions into the game later on, all of which will be usable in this particular game mode. So if you have been interested in the game or been wanting to try it out, you're interested in Necrons, or you just want to try out this new game mode, it might be something worth picking up.
I voyaged far in skies unknown, by seeking treasure unforetold. And from the stars and darkness deep, I find my way back home. To the wind our caution's thrown, adventures high, our wills are stone. We journeyed seeking treasure bright, and now we sail for home. 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 Riches unforetold, we venture off to shores unknown. We sail our ship across the stars to treasure far from home.
last but not least this week, we have two major D&D things to talk about. And the first one is, guys, we're going back to space, and I'm very excited because I've never gotten to play with the Spelljammers campaign, but it's coming back to 5th edition. Now, there are expected to be some changes because obviously it's going to be updated to fit the 5th edition sort of gameplay style, but it means we're going back into space, which really, to me, like if you watch the trailer, which we showed before this, it's really exciting because I look at that trailer and the thing that I immediately am reminded of is two things. Treasure Planet, which is one of my all-time favorite films, and then also the, I think, second season of Reboot when they were on the pirate ship, and I want that adventure. Like, as soon as I saw this announcement come out about Spelljammers returning, I got so excited because, like, it made me think, was that season just a Spelljammers campaign? Because it kind of felt like it. And I really want to just experience that for myself. So the fact that we're finally getting it and it's not just an April Fool's joke, I'm super pumped. But we have some other news when it comes to D&D as well, and that is the fact that we're also returning to Dragonlance. Now, Dragonlance was a series of novels that was set in the D&D universe that people were enamored with, and anybody who's a fan of the series is going to be very excited because the new books, there's two actual things that are coming out for this particular universe campaign setting for D&D. One of them is a campaign book, as you would expect, called Shadow of the Dragon Queen, which is going to be an adventure book set specifically during the War of the Lance, which is what a lot of the novels covered. It's going to be a brand new story. They're going to be doing other things, but you are going to be able to see a lot of those characters around and represented in the book, which is very cool. The other thing that is coming out tied to Dragonlance is a cooperative board game. Now, D&D has often done adventure-style board games that have done some sort of light tie-ins to their campaigns, but this one is a bigger experiment. This one is actually designed to connect into the book's campaign. Now, you don't need the board game in order to play the campaign, nor do you need the campaign in order to enjoy the board game. But if you want to combine them and be able to take advantage of doing some epic battles where you're having armies fighting each other rather than just individuals fighting your PCs, then you can, because the board game is set up to allow you to do that, which I think is really, really cool. And personally, I just really like seeing multiple elements of tabletop gaming get combined and basically used together so that they're just synergizing. And that's what D&D seems like they're trying to do with this new product line. So as more information comes out, as I can get my hands on it, I'm definitely going to be taking a closer look at it. All right, that has been it for this week in hobby news. We got to cover some D&D stuff that I think is very cool. We got to look at some cool new miniatures, and there was even some video game news. All of my favorite things. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. In the meantime, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting us and making it so content like this can continue to happen. Without you guys, we wouldn't be doing this, so thank you very much. I've been Angela, you've been watching Hobby Night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.